All through the night, the Union campfires burned on Cemetery Ridge, but Gabe couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Davy and Orley, afraid of what might happen tomorrow. When he peeked from his bedroll, the flickering firelight cast ominous shadows of troops digging defensive earthworks, mules hauling heavy supply wagons, and reinforcements creeping in under the cover of darkness. At dawn, the campfires blinked out one by one. When Gabe sounded reveal for his regiment, scores of other regimental buglers echoed up and down the ridge. There, concealed just below Cemetery Ridge, was the whole Union army, entrenched, ready, and waiting. That morning, Gabe's regiment could hear heavy gunfire as they marched into position on the north section of Cemetery Ridge behind the gunners. Gabe stood next to Lancer at his post, bugle in hand. Davy waited in the front line, his rifle loaded at the ready. Then, at midday, from across the valley, Confederate cannons opened fire and Union cannons roared back with a thundering blast that shook the earth. Shells exploded everywhere. The deafening blast knocked Gabe off balance. He grabbed onto Lancer. "Hold steady, boys," shouted the major. "They can't dislodge the old Keystone." The Union artillery gunners were relentless, firing volley after volley. Gunpowder smoke burned Gabe's eyes, choked his throat, and scorched his lungs. The Confederate cannons stubbornly pounded back, ripping into the Union lines. With each blast, blinding dirt, sizzling shell fragments, and lead grape shot hissed helter-skelter through the ranks. The massive bombardment kept up, non-stop, from both sides for 2 deadly hours, but the Keystone held. When the suffocating smoke cleared, Gabe stiffened with fear at what he saw. For there, pouring out from behind the trees on Seminary Ridge, were thousands upon thousands of Confederate troops, advancing across the valley. What had once been a patchwork quilt of tidy farms and fields was now a swarming mass of soldiers in gray, charging toward the Union lines. Chills shot up Gabe's spine. Lancer's head jerked violently, his ears flattened. This page is going to be where your question is coming from. "Forward!" ordered the major as the first bullets whizzed overhead. Somehow, Gabe blew forward, and the 71st Infantry moved in front of the field guns and cannons like a precision machine and took cover behind a stone wall. "Ready on the firing line! Commence fire!" Gabe could barely breathe, but sounded the command, and a storm of bullets smashed into the Confederate lines. "Fire at will! Fire at will! Fire at will!" was shouted up and down the Union lines. Gabe shook, yet stayed on his feet. Blood streamed down Lancer's leg. Davy blurred into a solid fortress of blue, firing and reloading, firing and reloading, firing and reloading. But still the Confederates kept coming, firing back, determined to break the Union lines. The gunfire from both sides was so intense, so thick, that some Union and Confederate bullets actually collided in midair and fell to the ground. But many hit their mark until both sides had nearly exhausted their ammo.